Hello, everyone. Welcome to the April 28th meeting of the Waysburg Area School District Board of Directors. I believe we have all of our members here today. Some of us are having some technical difficulties for anyone watching, just so you know. If somebody cuts out and back in, that wouldn't be a surprise. Because we are remote, let's do a roll call, please, Mrs. Kuzer.
Okay. Dr. Royer?
Present.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. McDonald?
I'm here.
Mrs. Strite?
Here.
Mrs. Zimmerman?
Present.
Mr. Wengert?
Here.
Ms. Rieker?
Here.
Ms. Bechtel? She's getting on. And Mrs. Harold?
And I am here.
All right, everyone's present.
Okay, first item then is going to be to take a look at the agenda and the approval of the agenda. We did have an update on that. So if some of you looked at it earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Kuzer or Dr. Klein, we're adding number 3 under business will be bus contract discussion / vote.
Yes.
And under financial business, number 2 is a discussion vote on a new generator.
That's
Correct?
Yes.
Is there anything else that I've missed? No? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. With that being the case, then, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Oh,
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Who was second? I apologize.
Mr. McDonald made the motion, and
Ms. Zimmerman?
I think
I'm
it
not
was,
sure.
I don't care if Miss Zimmerman or Miss Sullivan seconded. No
Okay.
problem.
Voting is open.
Okay, and some of us on our phones won't be voting then, as you know, so we'll definitely have to do a voice vote as well.
Okay.
Okay, on to the minutes. Anyone have any corrections or questions about the minutes?
Nope.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So
Move
moved.
Approve. Second.
Mr. Wangert and Mrs. Strite, Ms. Kuzer.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, on then to the superintendent's report for this evening. Dr. Klein.
Okay, as you know, we're continuing with our planned instruction here for the, I guess, the 3rd week, actually. We're moving forward with it. We get, various contacts about different issues that parents and families are having, and we're trying to work through those also that staff have. So we're trying to improve there, and we're doing the best we can, as we move along. Just a couple of things that I want to put out there, as you know, and we're going to hear a little more on the, and I may wait till closer to the end there with some of our Clayton cabinet comments, but I'm going to talk a little bit about some concerns as we move forward with the budget and issues there. And so I'm going to make a statement at that point. All right, that's about it right now.
Okay, thank you. And before we really get going here, Mr. Erickson, he left. Well, when he comes back, we are going to have a second public comment this evening,
Okay.
which, that probably wasn't on, was that on the agenda too?
It was not on the agenda.
All right,
Just the
then
first one.
Okay, we're going to have to add that then,
All right, let me add that real quick.
which means I guess we have to vote on it. Correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
could
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
please make the motion to add a second public comment that will happen at the end of the meeting after, we're going to do it after board member comments? Let's do it after that. Okay, so that'll be E3.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of adding the public comment at the end, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay. So with that second public comment, Mr. Erickson, who's on the phone.
I'm trying to get Mrs. Bechtel up.
I need for you simply to explain to the public how they could make a public comment at the end of the meeting.
During the meeting, at any point that they would want to, they can go to the district website under the board meeting sections for virtual board meeting. And there is a form on there that they can fill out the public comment as they want to, and I'll be monitoring it throughout the meeting so that I can provide that to you at the next public comment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, for the next item, which is our first public comment, we do have 3 people who wrote in with a comment to start off today. So I'm going to read those with the writer's name and address, as you would do in a regular meeting. And then again, if anyone would like to add a comment for the end of the meeting, please follow the directions that Mr. Erickson just gave you. Okay, so the first item is from Sheila Eiler, who lives at 5525 Peaceful Oak Drive in Waynesboro. And here's her comment. I encourage you to implement, within the bounds issued by the state, some form of graduation ceremony this summer. This could be a virtual viewing of the ceremony by family and friends, with students participating in person with appropriate social distancing as necessary. The students want closure to their school career and should be given an opportunity to celebrate their own achievements as well as those of their classmates. So that is from Mrs. Eiler. Thank you. And then I will go to the next one, I hope. Okay, the next one. The next one is from Amanda Chilcote, who lives at 6 Jones Avenue, Montalto, PA. My daughter is a member of the class of 2020, and we desperately want to see prom and graduation postponed instead of canceled. Senior prom is an event that these students have looked forward to for years, and many of the girls have already purchased their gowns. I believe that students would be thrilled to attend prom on any date and on any location, even if not until late July, early August. As for graduation, students and families have worked for this their entire lives, and the students deserve to be celebrated with a commencement ceremony. Again, we'd be so happy to attend on any date and at any location. If social distancing is a concern at graduation, perhaps restricting the number of tickets and spacing out guests would help. We would love to have grandparents, siblings, etc. attend, but personally, I would rather attend a graduation ceremony with only parents/step-parents/legal guardians than no graduation at all. These students have already sacrificed enough, and they deserve to experience these milestone events. Okay, thank you, Ms. Chilcote. And then we'll have one more. This one is from Elia Myers, 8737 Stottlemyre Road. As a senior at Waynesboro Area Senior High School, I think I speak for myself and my peers in asking that the board truly tries their hardest to make an in-person graduation ceremony occur and a true in-person prom, no matter what date it is. The class of 2020 is truly a group of some of the hardest working students I know, and I believe in my heart of hearts that we deserve to have these moments. Okay, thank you very much from our people participating in public comment. And for those who've looked at the agenda, you know that we will be addressing graduation and prom here coming up very soon. Thank you. Okay, on to board reports. And I think perhaps we'll start with budget here on the board reports.
Okay, yes. This is Patty Strike for you that can't see me or hear me. I'd like to take this opportunity to present some preliminary pre-budget information for the board and taxpayers, outlining the current situation we face with the 2021 budget and moving forward. This presentation will be available on the Waynesboro Area School District website to view probably within the week. And it will probably be under board presentations. And I'd like to thank Eric Holtzman for his time and talents in making this presentation possible for tonight.
I know we have a screen we want to show with this.
Mhm.
Mr. or Dr. Klein, did you want to do that at this moment or when you're speaking?
I'm sorry, what was that?
If we have a slide about the budget issues that Mr. Holtzman came up with,
Yeah, I think at the end, actually, I could make
we're going to do that
my
at the end?
comment at that point.
Okay, okay.
I
then
think
we'll put
Nick's
that up
actually,
and-
So I was under the understanding that Mrs. Strite was going to go over these slides. That's why I have it up right now.
Okay. So.
Is that correct, Mrs.
Okay,
Strite?
I can't see that they're up, so that's good. If
Oh.
they're up, that's great.
Okay, yeah, they're up.
Okay, go for it then.
Okay.
Did you want to say anything more specific, Mrs. Strite?
Well, they're pretty self-explanatory, but I'd be happy to go through them if you would like me to, or
I think there's, there's only, what, 2 or 3 of them. I think that would be helpful.
there's a few pages.
Okay,
After our budget meeting last Tuesday, there were some questions about where we are with the 2021 preliminary budget, and I would just like to show where we're at with that budget and to explain why, how we spend what we spend. Annually, 99% of all PA school districts spend more per student than Waynesboro Area School District does. Waynesboro Area School District property taxes are 17% less than if the district raised rates to the Act 1 inflationary limit since 2006. From 2010 through 11 through 2017-18, excluding pension and cyber charter school costs, Waynesboro Area School District budget increased by only 0.4% per year on average. And you'll see over there to the right, that are the millage rates for the school districts in our area. And you will see that Waynesboro mill rates are towards the bottom of the chart there. Next slide. And these are the things that Pennsylvania mandates that Waynesboro does that we have no control over. We pay $8.5 million towards the pension system for the state for 2020-21, which is 13% of our budget. We provide free transportation to non-public schools in Maryland and Pennsylvania. We pay for students placed in outside placements, such as youth detention facilities across Pennsylvania. We pay $2 million to cyber charter schools. These are schools that advertise free classes. We pay prevailing wage scale for all construction projects greater than $25,000. We pay all additional costs for special ed without additional funding. Current gap is $4 million plus. And the next slide shows why, how the mandated closure of schools and why we're not saving money. Do you have another slide? There we go. Act 13 of 2020, which is Pennsylvania law, mandated payment of all school employees and coaches for their regular pay for the 2019-20 school year. So we are still paying for the employees and the coaches, even though schools closed. Act 13 of 2020 requires Waynesboro Area School District to continue paying over $8 million to the pension system for 2019-20. Waynesboro School District also has to continue paying all cyber charter school costs, special ed programs, and building renovation bond payments. Pennsylvania also encourages the district to reopen transportation contracts and pay a portion of those contracts. That's your bus contracts. Food services is currently losing approximately $40,000 per week in revenue, but is mandated to pay all staff and benefits. You'll know that we are paying for or providing free lunches and breakfasts to students that need it. To ensure enrichment and instruction, Waynesboro Area School District has incurred expenditures for software and technology that were not budgeted for. That is the programs that we are teaching our students with right now. We also anticipate reductions in our 2019-20 revenues such as real estate transfer taxes, earned income taxes because people are not working, etc. Our district is making every effort to save money by reducing utilities, implementing a hiring freeze, and reviewing all educational purchases. So you ask, how did we get in this situation? When we were doing our budget meetings in January and February, we were very happy. We were at a $400,000 deficit, which sounds bad, but for us, that was great. That was all the money we needed to find to be at a balanced budget. But when the pandemic hit, we now find ourselves at a $2.5 million deficit. And if you follow the little chart around, this is how it happened. And as I said, prior to the pandemic, the district preliminary budget had a $400,000 deficit. The budget was based on a 3.35 mil tax increase, which was the governor's proposed budget for 2021. And that was not up to the of what we could have raised it, but it was below the index. The budget was also based on increases to earned income tax, real estate transfer tax, and other revenues. The Pennsylvania legislature has discussed and is discussing the potential of prohibiting tax increases for 2021. So the tax increase has been
Patty.
removed from the budget. Yes.
Follow your arrows.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then the economy changed significantly due to the shutdown of business across PA. The additional revenue from the state is now in jeopardy and has been removed. The PA legislature discussed the potential of prohibiting tax increases for 2021, so the tax increase was removed, which is what they're discussing right now. Other local revenue streams decreased as well: earned income tax, local services tax, real estate transfer, collection rate, etc. Yet the state did not reduce Waynesboro School District's pension costs, cyber costs, and other mandatory expenses. In fact, these costs are even higher for 2021. The result is the above deficit increased due to revenue reductions while mandatory costs increased.
Okay, we're going to have these slides available for people, correct? Is it going to be posted on the website, right?
Miss Harold, I think there's one more slide at least there for two.
Yeah, there's a few more, but
There's 5 more slides.
Okay.
You have 2 more?
a few more.
There's 4 more slides.
Okay,
You're going to continue, Mrs. Strite, then?
sure.
Again, I can't see the slides, so.
Okay, so mandatory major expenses are increasing for 2021, are that we are obligated by contractual obligations for salaries to increase $790,000. In pension costs to the state, $325,000. Professional services to provide special education, $487,000, and $600,000 more in new expenses to cyber charter tuition costs. And the major revenues that will be decreasing, we are estimating $370,000 to PA state funding for the initial 2021 budget, $500,000 decrease, potential decrease in earned income tax revenue because people are not working, reduction to revenues for occupational tax, local services tax, and real estate transfer tax. And each 1% decline in real estate collections rates lowers revenues by $254,000. The unknowns for 2021, will the school district be permitted to increase property taxes to cover mandatory increases to expenses? That we do not know. Will Waynesboro School District receive funds from the federal CARES legislation? That we do not know. Will Pennsylvania increase school district revenues to match the February 2020 budget? Will the economy rebound quickly, providing additional district tax revenue? And these are some of the things that we have looked at that we may be able to help that gap that we're finding ourselves, at $2.5 million gap. We're reviewing the budgetary line items line by line to determine what purchases we can delay for a year that won't affect educational requirements that are mandatory. The district will review all retiring positions to determine if we legally are required to backfill the position to meet federal and state legislated educational programs. The district may utilize its fund balance to meet cash flow needs, or the district will continue to advocate with our legislative representatives for fair and adequate funding for the Waynesboro Area School District, which I might add, I sent emails today to both of our Senate and representatives. So hopefully they will listen to our pleas. And then there were some questions about the Life Skills House and how much that costs our district. And this slide, I hope, dispels a lot of those rumors. The Life Skill House costs the district $0. We had $201,000 in donations to date, cash in hand. We also have pledges of $50,000 in addition to that cash in hand. There were significant repairs and renovation services provided for free by community contractors and vendors. So far, $141,308 in funds were expended in projects to date from those donations. Project management is being provided free by local community leaders. So we hope this dispels all the rumors that the Life Skills House does not cost the district any funds. And that is all, Karen.
Okay.
May I add one quick thing to the Life Skills House, is that the fact that the $60,000 that is still remaining, those people that have donated that money have specifically wanted it targeted for that project. They do not want it to go to anything but that project. So I want to make sure that's clear. And Ms. Harold, can I add something at this point about our budget? I might as well do it now instead of later.
Absolutely.
What I want to make sure is understandable to everyone of the situation this budget brings for our school district is that, you know, even with the retirements we are looking at not filling, there are 5 or 6, which would bring about $500,000-$600,000 to us to lower that deficit, and that 2.5 may not be the end if I'm correct. Is that right, Mr. Holtzman? That could go higher.
Oh,
Yes, sir. That's not really based on a reduction of collection rate at this point. So if our collection rate for real estate goes down by just 1%, it's $250,000 of additional revenue reductions for us. So we took a look at some information that PASBO was presenting, and they're possibly even estimating a 2% reduction. So that could take the deficit up to $3 million potentially.
So with all that said, that, you know, our greatest amount of money that we can, remove from this budget is typically through personnel. And if we do not replace those 5-6 retirements, yes, we gain $500,000-$600,000, but as you can see with that budget, it's not much. So, you know, to be realistic, I want to make sure we're realistic with this whole thing. With everything that we can do to help lower this budget, we're probably looking, if there's no tax increase, if we can't do that, if there aren't other things that come along that would help us, aside that was what was mentioned, then we're looking at furloughs for teaching positions, and that could be 5, 6, 7 positions at this point to make that money up. And when you start to look at those kind of furloughs, you're looking at higher class sizes, you're looking at less programming, and unfortunately, I think everybody loses at that point. And I don't know, I want to make sure, Mr. Holtzman, that I'm correct with the amount of money that, you know, that would help. I mean, we're talking probably what, at least 6 positions that would have to help make up some of this deficit.
Correct. And that's in addition to if the 6 retirements are not.
So I just want to make sure people realize the significance of this issue.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Klein.
Now, one other thing, Mrs. Harold.
Yep.
I'm going to throw it out there because it's very true. If the state, would even consider a 1 or 2 year moratorium, particularly a 2-year moratorium, in our requirement to pay cyber school tuition rates to make those payments for 2 years, we would be in much, much better shape, and more students wouldn't be taking the hit than that gain from going to cyber charter and us paying that bill. The other thing is if the state would hold the PSERS contribution rate at 30%, we would be significantly better. So I just want to make sure that as our state makes decisions, those two things could help a lot.
And cyber school, which our board has discussed the issues with cyber school many times, but I still think it's an issue that most of the public does not understand. It is not free for kids to go to cyber school. It costs them a minimum of what our per pupil expenditure would be, whether it's $12,000 or special education is another, what, 5,000 added onto that, Eric? Something like that?
Sure. Actually, the rates I think this year are closer to about 10,000 and I want to say 18. There was some discount in there, but the special ed costs are almost double, and they identify a higher rate than the district does.
Okay. So anytime a student, now we understand the whole purpose of cyber school, but just so everyone understands that when a child enrolls in cyber school, it costs us a lot of money. And the other thing is we do have cyber school. We have it available for students right here through the district, which we actually think is better than a lot of the cyber schools that you could go to that are not connected with the school. So thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Klein. It's another issue we like to make sure everyone understands how that works.
Sure.
Okay, other board reports apart from budget, and just to talk about how things are changing so quickly. We did have an academic committee meeting, but we're talking about personnel and what we can do to try to make this work the best we can. But even since we had that meeting, things have changed. So things are changing rapidly, as I'm sure most people understand. And we just are doing the best we can. I think our staff is doing incredible work. Our teachers, our administrators, Clayton people. I mean, we're just rolling with it the best we can. And when the government or the governor throws down something new, we've been able to adjust, but it sure isn't always easy. So same thing happened with academic. I don't have much to report because, again, some of it isn't true anymore. Does any other board member have a board report to give before we get to Josh and the student report?
Aaron, I'll just mention quickly, Facilities Committee did meet last week, and thanks to Mr. Holtzman and his team, gave great updates, but many of the projects are on hold at this point in time. Although there is an item that we are going to discuss later in the agenda tonight, because facilities still have to be taken care of, and there is an opportunity, and we'll be discussing that shortly. That's it.
Ms. Harold still there?
I think she froze.
I think.
Unfortunately, I think she fell offline.
Yes, Mrs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so
is
too.
no longer connected.
Okay. Mrs. Sullivan, do you want to take it from there, at least to keep it moving, or do you want to give her a second to get back on?
I don't have anything except my cell phone.
Okay.
I don't have an agenda. I don't have anything because my Chromebook won't open.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be a little hard.
May I
Okay.
say something just in passing in the interim? Mrs. Stride, I want to congratulate you on your presentation, and I want to publicly apologize for interrupting you.
Oh,
But
no,
you weren't
that's
following
quite
your-
all right.
You weren't following your arrows, and I didn't want anybody to get lost. And
Thank
as
you.
part of the summation statement, I think one of the visuals in your slide said that schools are closed. I think the public is learning tonight that the school buildings are closed, but the school district is still required to do a boatload of things that have to keep the whole system going. So I
Absolutely.
stand for your excellent presentation.
Actually, I would like to also give my kudos, not only to Mrs. Strite, but also to Eric Holtzman, who helped
Yes.
Mrs. Strite provide those things, because I think they were very, very well explained to the public, what we are dealing with, what our school district is dealing with, even though, guess what? We're closed and people don't understand that we still have expenses. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zimmerman. This is Eric, and I just want to say thank you, but there really was at least a dozen people involved in this process that reviewed it and provided information, so it really was a team effort.
Yeah, but I think it was very, very clear. It was made very clear. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm back.
Hey,
So when that happens again, Cindy or Todd, just pick it up and keep going, and I'll try to come back in.
Yeah, I'll take it from there. Mrs. Sullivan is on she doesn't have her agenda there because I think she's on a phone.
Okay. Whatever you want to do, because it could very well happen again.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm sorry, so Mr. Wenger gave his report. Is that where we are?
Correct.
Okay, any other board reports then?
No.
Okay, if not, Josh, what would you like to say here tonight?
All right, so I don't have too much. I have talked to a few seniors since the last board meeting, and I know you've kind of heard from the general public how they feel about graduation and prom. And I can't say that those students I have talked to would also like some kind of ceremony or prom, but a graduation at the very least seems like it is definitely the most important thing to them at the moment. And going into our second week of online learning, I've talked to a few different students about that as well. I've gotten mostly good feedback about that, not many issues. I mean, a few here and there, but as we kind of go along, hopefully those will get worked out. And it's just a matter of learning the software, getting everything down, and getting into a routine, I think. So hearing mostly good things for the most part, and just hearing a lot about graduation too, and wanting that to hopefully happen sometime over the summer or in the future. But.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. And with that, then we're ready to go into business section of the meeting. First item will be personnel. Dr. Sterner-Hein.
She's mute.
I think we need to, I can do personnel, but where are we with the presentation? Did I miss that?
No, it's next.
Oh, okay, my apologies. Okay, so let's go to personnel. Perfect. All right, I'd like to direct your attention to the personnel information listed in the board docs. We have a retirement. We want to congratulate Sue Hess on her retirement as a kitchen manager at Fairview after 27 years. We have 2 requests for leaves. And then if you go to the other personnel handout, there is an additional listing of a resignation of a support staff member, two members, I should say, and additional requests for leaves. Recommendation is to approve as listed.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Dr. Sterner-Hein? Okay, if not, all those in favor of accepting the personnel, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, personnel carries. Thank you. And now time to talk about graduation and the prom. Whoever would like to take that on.
think we'll start with graduation first, wouldn't we?
Okay,
So I believe Mr. Pappas is online and he will be presenting a few slides based on our conversation last week.
okay.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
All right. First, I'd like to thank all the students and parents that are viewing this right now. And from our school to your families, we hope you're doing well. I also want to thank the board for allowing me to present this to the subcommittee on Friday and now present it to the entire board tonight. So this presentation that you'll be seeing is a plan to hold an outdoor graduation, the first date being May 29th at 6:30 p.m. with then a rain date on May 30th at 10 a.m. on our football field. So our purposes for this will be first to recognize the class of 2020. We understand that this unprecedented event that has happened in our world has interfered with their senior year, and we want to do our best, again, to recognize them with as normal as possible graduation ceremony. We also want to honor the desire of the school board to hold a live commencement ceremony, again, for the class of 2020. We also know we need to maintain a safe environment for all participants. And lastly, we want to reflect directives from Governor Wolf's regional plans. I want to just lay out how the ceremony would look. I have a couple of bullets here, and then we have some visuals for everyone to see. First, our graduates will be lined up on every 5-yard line from goal line to goal line. They will be spaced out 6 feet apart on each 5-yard line marker. There are 16 rows with about 336 spots. Graduates will be facing the home bleachers, and graduates will be called one by one. They will walk to a table on a stage to take a diploma, an envelope, and then get a photograph on our stage. Next, you will see a graph, and these yellow dots represent our seniors. And so if you take a look at the goal line closest to the scoreboard, which should be on the right side of your screen, that's where our first row will come from. And after those 16 students go through, the next row, well, all the rows then will shift to their left. And then everyone will leave the football field from that goal line that's closest to the scoreboard. If you could please go to the next slide, Mr. Erickson, you will see the black arrows, hopefully you can see them, the black arrows that come from that goal line. When a graduate will be called, they will come from that goal line and they will walk and they will come, thank you. They will come to a table first where WASH's administrators will be, and they will receive their diploma and also an envelope that may have a lot of different items in there. Typically, we give that envelope to our graduates after the ceremony. They come back into the cafeteria and they get that. With the situation going on now, they will receive everything there at the table. Then our plan is to have a photograph taken of them, and we're going to have our stage decorated. We're going to allow the student to go on stage and have a photograph taken, and then they will continue on out of the stadium. And we will go through that process for every single graduate of the class of 2020. So the process of the ceremony, this is, again, we will add more details as we get closer to our planning, but this is what we have set up now. We will have pre-recorded music playing over the PA system, since our students in the band and the choir will not be there, but we will have something pre-recorded to start the ceremony. We will have a welcome and a pledge, and that will either be done by myself or the board president, Mrs. Harold. We will have messages from the valedictorian, the class of 2020 president, Dr. Klein, Dr. Sternerheim, and then myself. We will then announce the graduates' names and we will call them to receive their diploma. Then the students will exit the stadium as you saw in the previous slide. We do have a Plan B date, which will be June 23rd at 6:30, but then a rain date the next day on June 24th at 6:30. Then I have a list of other items for everyone to see. The ceremony will be on a live stream option, so anyone can view on the internet. I'm sure the link will be set up on our website, and copies of the ceremonies will be provided to each senior as we do every year. Parents would not be in attendance for this plan. Our back parking lot would be closed off to all, and parking would be spread out to parking next to the pre-K wing, the A-level front parking lot, WAMS, East 2nd Street, Virginia Avenue, and Enterprise Avenue, with the permission from the local police, which I believe we have already received. All graduates, again, would receive a transcript, diploma, GPA medal, if necessary, or if applicable, a ceremony program, and any other items in an envelope when they pick up their diploma cover during the commencement ceremony. And again, that would be at the table before they stepped up on the stage. Finally, if any parents or students have questions, and again, I know parents and students have already emailed us, but please do not hesitate to email us. You see our names there in the office and our email addresses. Please, again, if you have any questions, please direct them really to me, and I can go through them. And if I need any other clarity, I will get that information to you as soon as possible. So again, I appreciate you listening to our presentation as parents and students, and to our board. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Pappas. And of course, this is the plan that we have under the state and the governor's requirements at this point. If perchance that would change in the near future, we would certainly be willing to change to make it more accommodating. But that's under the law right now, and we believe that that's acceptable. So that is the plan that the high school administration and the subcommittee have come up with at this time. Comments from or questions for Mr. Pappas from the board? No one?
Nope, looks good.
Okay. Any other comments, Dr. Sterner-Hein, on this, or are we ready to move on and comment about the prom?
I believe we're ready to move on.
Okay. Dr. Klein?
Okay, I want to make sure people understand there's been much review, much discussion and thought about the prom, and taking many issues together or in thought of how to go about doing a prom. After all that discussion and thought, the decision we have made that there will not be a district-sponsored prom this year. Again, there will not be a district-sponsored prom this year.
Okay. Questions from anyone or comments for Dr. Klein? Okay. If not, and no one has any other comments or questions about graduation and the prom, then we will move on to the bus contracts. Okay, let's talk about that. And I guess that's Dr. Klein again.
Yeah, we have, actually, Mr. Holtzman and I can kind of tag team on this one, but we have been working with Heck Myers school bus lines to work out an agreement to see if we can reduce our rates this year, since we have lost about a quarter of the year where they have not had to run the buses. As you know, there are many complications with that, of their commitments, financial commitments, and the fact that we do have a contract for 178 days. And, you know, so we feel that this was probably the best we could do, is get 85% of that, pay 85% of that bill. So Mr. Holtzman, do you want to add to that?
No, I think you stated it clearly, sir. And really the basis of this is also in that Act 13 of 2020 that Ms. Stride had mentioned earlier, where school districts are encouraged to renegotiate to reduce the rate, but also they're encouraging districts to continue paying those contractors simply for two reasons. One is they want to make sure that those companies have the ability to continue paying their employees and keeping them off of unemployment, so they're ready to transport again when schools open. And the second reason is those companies do also have leases and such for buses. We want to make sure that operation is continued and ready to go, especially if school were to start back up this year or in the fall. Obviously, I don't think we're anticipating this year at this point.
And Ms. Harold, to proceed with this, if there is a motion and a second, I would just, if I were you, read the recommended action after getting those two motions.
I can
Okay.
make a motion.
I can't read it
Okay.
because I don't have access to it right now.
I'll be glad to read.
I got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I have it. Okay, the motion is being made by Cindy Sullivan to pass a resolution to make payment to Heckmeyer School Bus Lines for the balance of 2019-20 school year for periods not in session due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Amounts will be billed and paid at the rate of 85% of the 19-20 rates for contracted services. Christian schools, charter schools, and special need runs will be paid at the applicable van rate for per diem vehicles. This payment is conditioned upon the transportation vendor with subsection 1 and 2. Did you get that?
I got most of it. How about everyone else?
I did. I second the motion.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments or questions? All right. If not, all those in favor of the motion for the contract for Heckmeyers, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone involved in that. Okay, so that's it for section C, the business section. Now we're going to move on to financial district or financial business. And Mr. Holtzman, purchase orders and bills for payment.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have the normal bills payable for the general and the cafeteria fund here. And we always do provide those in 2 different formats to give you that information. We also have some POs. Of course, the purchase orders are being reduced substantially. They're primarily for building maintenance items or getting equipment ready for summer cleaning, which we've actually started that process already to do summer cleaning this year. So we'll be about a month earlier into that process, and that should help us get the buildings clean without the need for additional summer help this year.
Okay, questions on the financials for Mr. Holtzman, the purchase orders? If none, do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for that. And now on to discussion acting on the purchase of a used generator. Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. This is an emergency generator. The emergency generators for Summit View, they're designed right now at Summit View. They only supply the lights and the fire panel systems at this time. They're not providing for the locks, electronic locks, a lot of the technology in the building, the coolers, the freezers, and many other items in that building. It's only a small 12 kW generator. It's been in place for 50 years. It's probably about 55 years old, actually. It sits inside of a storage closet. We've had a lot of problems with some leakages with exhaust. When it's run on a regular basis, we have to run them every week. We have to open up the doors to the outside of the building because we have some air quality concerns when we don't do that. So, you know, it's kind of extended its useful life for the most part. I mean, it still does operate it, but it does the bare bones basics. And parts have been extremely difficult to get for anything for this unit just because of its age. Another district, Southwestern School District, is doing a building renovation. They have a unit that's, and I say this because we just talked about a 55-year-old unit. They have a unit that's almost 30 years old, but it's almost 3 times the size. Not quite 3 times, but almost 3 times the size. The unit could be put outside the building, so we wouldn't have to worry about those concerns. It would run on natural gas. And then we could also hook some of those circuits I mentioned earlier, everything from some of our technology in the building to electronic locks, the freezers and coolers, hopefully maybe even add some more additional lights. Obviously, when we have problems with power going out, and for some reason, Summit View has a significant number of problems every year because we have some squirrel issues that hit the fuses and they take the power down right there on Main Street. What we looked at here is we're asking tonight just for the purchase. The purchase price is kind of a friendly price from Southwestern of $2,500 for this unit. We do feel that it would take about another $9,500 to, and it's a combination of transportation, installation, running new circuits, and putting a small roof over it to keep it out of the weather. It won't be in an enclosed building, but just to keep a roof off of it. That would come down later on the road once we've had more time to review that. our facilities director, our maintenance supervisor, and we even had the electrical company that we use often. They also have went out, inspected it, and also inspected our circuits in the building to see if it's compatible. They all felt that it is compatible. And so we have brought this back to you for your discussion and action.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Holtzman?
Actually, Mr. Holtzman, I would like you to clarify who brought this to your attention.
I believe it was Mr. Miley, or I'm going to say Mr. Adams. I can't remember. It was one of the two. I think it was Mr. Miley. And I think it was because he was at a meeting and he had heard about another district that had this unit available.
Okay, well, my understanding is that it was Mr. Adams, but.
Oh, okay.
And if that's the case.
They both might have been at the same meeting. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I would just like to, thank Mr. Adams for that. Because I think this is probably, a wonderful suggestion to our district.
No, I appreciate that. And, we've had this in our 5-year capital plan. When folks have asked us about our capital plans, this has been in there, but we attached a price of close to $60,000 to bring, to purchase a brand new unit and to have it installed outside. This would be a significantly lower cost, and it will still do what it needs to do to service that building for, say, the next 15, 20 years.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyone else? If not, can we have a motion then to approve the purchase of the generator?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mrs. Sullivan or Mr. Wenger, Ms. Kuzer, whoever you want to pick there for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, next item we have is the budget, income, and expenses. Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Oftentimes we have had you vote on this item as kind of a package deal with some of the bills and such. It is pulled out this time separately. Realistically, it's up to the board's decision whether they want to actually vote on it or not. It is a reflection of the revenues and the expenses that have come in. And it's also a reflection of bills that we've already paid and purchase orders as well. So it's more for your information. We did change the format a little bit. We had some recommendations. I think it was Dr. Royer, if I remember correctly, had a recommendation to see if we could do 2 years at a time. And we were able to get a report that does that and giving a little bit more detail here. We are kind of limited on what the system can do, but I think hopefully this gives you a little bit more information than what we had before.
Thank you, Mr. Holtzman. Looks great.
You're welcome, Dr. Barr. Appreciate the
Question?
suggestion. I'm glad you asked.
Okay, so you're asking us to approve this, Eric?
Really, it's your choice, ma'am. It really reflects what you've already approved or revenues
Okay.
that come in, and we're not asking for a budget transfer or anything at this point. So that's really up to the boards. We've done it before as a package, but it was just pulled out separately in this one. So.
Okay, I think it's available for us to read and look at and, keep on file. So we'll just move on from that then, since it's not necessary to take a vote. And that leads us to the next issue, which is the Avalon Townhomes.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. This is a commercial property that sought reassessment. What they do is, for that process, they initially go to the appeals board, and they have their case heard through the appeals board. That board denied the case, denied a change in the assessment. And then what they do is if they so desire, they take it to the Court of Common Pleas. That's what this commercial company did. They did take it to the Court of Common Pleas. They filed. It actually sat on the dockets for about 3 to 4 years. I have to tell you, sometimes this happens. We've seen situations where they sit on the court dockets, and for many reasons, they just don't move any further. This one then was brought back up to our attention and brought to us. Our solicitor reviewed it, and what they did is they went through a negotiations process with the property owner. Just to give you some reference, this is that townhome complex that sits just off of Route 16 in Zellinger area, kind of behind the Fellowship Church there. almost across the street from the old school. It looks like it's, you know, individual townhomes, but that whole thing is one parcel, all those townhomes and properties there. That's one parcel. So what our solicitor was able to kind of work through that negotiation process, and again, this is something that is normal. We use our solicitor once it's went to the court of common pleas. They were able to go ahead and go back. Initially, it was a 4-year look back on taxes. That's now just a 3-year look back. It does reduce the tax assessment, which you have that information there in the motion or on the document. For us, from a financial perspective, we would have to pay about $36,000 to cover some taxes for the last 3 years based on the reduction in the assessed value. And then it does lower that value, of course, going into the future. So it's about 15, and each year is a little different, just the way it's structured. So it was 8,000, 12,000, then rounded to 16,000.
Okay, and you're looking for what?
It would be an approval of the agreement. So the other party does agree to this already. The solicitor says that they have agreed to it. I can tell you that, you know, initially the amount was much higher than this that we would have had to pay. So I think they were very effective in working with us to get to an amicable amount.
Questions for Mr. Holtzman?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right then, everyone in favor of approving this, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, exonerated occupation taxes.
Yes, ma'am. This is just normal sale. Sometimes we have some mobile homes that go up for sale, go to a tax sale that nobody is willing to purchase. And that's what this document represents, is 2 of those properties. The county has already approved it. They're asking for the school district to approve the sale as well.
Okay. Motion on this?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Holtzman. That gets us through the financial business. On to informational items, Clayton Cabinet comments.
Just one more if we could, ma'am.
Yes.
Sorry, I know you don't have your, I'm sorry, I know you can't see it on your screen there. We do have another item for exonerated occupation taxes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, we didn't do that.
No,
Okay.
it's just the repository sale item. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
the repository, okay.
Yeah, we
Okay,
separated
I'm
those out.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'll move to approve, Mrs. Harold.
Thank you, Dr. Royer.
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much, Mr. Holtzman.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Now on to the Clayton Cabinet comments.
I have none at this time.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would just
Admin?
like to echo what Dr. Klein said about our progress on planned instruction, and it's going extremely well. Happy to report, Mr. Taylor had indicated that his WAM students are logging on, and I believe Mr. Pappas shared with us today that of the 1,200 students, we only had 40 who have not elected to log on at this point.
Wow.
So that is very, very impressive, and I just want to continue to commend all our learners and our teachers and our administrators for an amazing job in this very, very difficult and challenging time.
Amen.
Thank you very much. And it sounded like Josh was echoing that his experience and the things that he's heard has been positive from a student view as well. Okay.
Mrs.
Thank
Harold,
you.
I have a question.
All right. Yes.
Back in, I guess it was in April, when we originally were only going to have school closed for a short while, I talked to you, Dr. Klein, about whether or not we were going to have any synchronous opportunities for our students.
Okay.
Where did she go?
That they're taping, and I'm working with several other districts that are using Zoom to do like weekly
check-ins. They're not doing academic instruction because of, access, but they are doing like morning meetings and weekly check-ins with their students. And I just wondered if you had mentioned, Dr. Klein, that if we continued through the end of the school year, that might be something that we might look at. I bring this up because I think our students, I can only speak for the younger students. I can speak for myself and some parents I've talked to. I think they're really missing that interaction with their classmates and with their teacher. And given the fact that now we know we're not going back at all, just wondering if that's something we might consider. I did talk to Greencastle. They are doing Zoom meetings with elementary students, as is Chambersburg and Tuscarora. So I don't know that there's any ramifications that we can't. I don't believe anybody's making it. Greencastle is optional. But just wanted to ask you if that was a possibility.
I think it's certainly a possibility if it's not mandatory. Once we make it mandatory, then we may run into some issues with access for all students. And we have to make sure that all students have access in order to meet FAPE for students. So could it be a possibility? I guess it could be. I'm not sure that we haven't had some teachers do that, but I know we've been very careful how we've proceeded with that. And I don't know if Dr. Sternerheim has anything to add.
Sure. Yeah, I believe Dr. Royer had presented this idea to me as well in the past. So at this point, I believe we have some elementary teachers who are going to begin this particular process of trying to connect with their students. Again, not academically related. It has to be optional. We're going to try, I think at this point, it's being rolled out in faculty meetings beginning tomorrow as an option.
Okay. I really appreciate that for you. I really appreciate you considering that. And I hope the teachers, again, most of the districts are just calling it like, as I said, a check-in. When I meant mandatory, Dr. Klein, I meant that the teachers, it wasn't mandatory for the teachers. It's never mandatory, I would never be mandatory for the students, but I've had the chance to observe a kindergarten sharing session. Yesterday, I observed students playing Pictionary. One of the classrooms is going to be doing a talent show next week. So again, the number of students that are logging in is pretty high. And if I'm looking at access, I know from the classrooms I'm working in, it looks like our login at elementary is really high also. I don't know if you have any statistics on that, Dr. Sternerheim, but it looks really good.
Yeah, and I have to go back. I basically got most of that information today from secondary, but I can definitely follow up on that. From the elementary perspective, I just want to clarify, or at least special education students are they do have Zoom meetings on a daily basis.
Okay.
All our title students have been invited into like reading rooms, and they have connections as well. So we have pockets of that going on, or has been going on in the districts in order to make definitely accommodate all our FAPE regulations. So we're working through it.
Yeah, well, I can't say enough about the teachers and what they've done, and I think we also need to commend our parents for their hard work. I know the fact I'm schooling, my grandson right now, and it is difficult, but the teachers have been wonderful and very receptive to answering questions and things like that. So again, I feel like, again, I think it's awesome that you're going to offer it. I do think some of our teachers miss that interaction also with their kids.
True.
Well, I think over time, we've got to get better at that part and try to make sure in some way in the future that all of our students have that access in some form or another, because it's a big part of what we could offer each child in the future to customize education more for each one of them.
Absolutely. And I think our approach has been like every week we layer something else into the process because, we weren't necessarily prepared for this, but we're doing an amazing job. And, we want to make sure that we're doing it well and not just adding layer upon layer and then, compromising the entire process.
Yeah.
And I've said it many times, but and I think that the district has done a good job of it, but they're boiling the frog. They haven't thrown the frog in the hot water all at one time. They are slowly turning up the heat as they go, which is a great change management type of approach.
Yeah, one more thing, Dr. Sternheim, I want to commend you on Exact Path. We've had the opportunity to do the reading, the ELA, and the math, take a look at it and gone through the learning paths. I would tell you that having now seen both, it would have had my vote over the other product. So I think it's a really good, a good tool so far from what I'm seeing. I think it was great for you to be able to.
Oops.
Oops.
So if I just want to add to that, like so far we just did some more professional development today with Exact Path, and the really good news about Exact Path is our students will have access to it for the entire summer.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
So I appreciate the board support on making that purchase, and definitely supporting our learners, and so far our teachers are saying very positive things about it as well. Thank you.
Rita, maybe for the grade school kids, they can call their Zoom time recess time. That can be the recess.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that, the Zoom meeting is a great way to connect, but we can't always control what's going on in the background.
Yeah, I realize.
So,
maybe show and tell or something.
Yeah, yeah.
They need that communication with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other board comments? Okay, then, if not, Mr. Erickson, I have not received any other public comment. Is that correct?
I've sent you, I think, 3 or 4.
Oh, did
via
you?
your email.
Okay, let me see if I can find those then. Okay, got them. Okay. Okay, the first comment is coming from Madeline Wedekind, who lives at 11649 Westminster Drive. Hi, my name is Madeline Wedekind, and I'm a part of the class of 2021. My fellow peers and classmates have been communicating that we are very overwhelmed with all the schoolwork we have been given by our teachers. We understand how much of a difficult time this is for teachers and administrators, and we appreciate all the work they do for us. But maybe it's a little too much all at once. Is there anything you can do about this issue? It would be greatly appreciated by the WASH students. Thank you. Okay, and I know they are doing the best they can do. So I'm sure every teacher is being as conscientious as they can about that issue. Let me see if I can get to the next comment. Okay, the next comment, actually I have a name and an address, but there is nothing except the word graduation under comment. So I'll go to the next one, and then Nick, you can look at that and see if I'm seeing that correctly.
You are seeing that correctly, Mrs. Harold. That's all that was submitted.
Okay, then I don't know that that was really the intent of the person, so I think I'll just pass that one by. Okay, next one. Okay, this one is from Ethan Walker. Ethan lives at 14041 Charles Drive in Waynesboro. To start, I will introduce myself. I am a student, a part of the class of 2020. I currently am enrolled in 3 AP courses and have maintained a growing grade point average since my freshman year. I find that much of the workload being given by my teachers has mostly been work with little instruction to students in the form of a lesson or a way for the student to complete the work. For example, if a student is given a math problem, there's little to no guidance on how to solve it. I feel as though it would be beneficial for these students if teachers were required to record videos or even audio recordings to give a lesson, as they would do in a normal school setting. I understand that if a student has issues with the work, they can email teachers for help. However, many teachers have email windows earlier in the morning. If the email windows could be later in the day, around noon or later, when students are finishing their work, that may be beneficial to many students as well. So, Dr. Sterner-Hein, you can have a look at these letters that came in for some students. Perhaps pass them on to some of the teachers for suggestions. We know we're not going to be perfect. I'm sure everyone could improve to some degree, but hopefully we're doing a good job as we can, and most students are benefiting from what our teachers are conveying to their kids.
Sure. I just want to clarify, we are recording lessons. I'm not sure in this particular young man's case, but lessons have been recorded. And I believe that the high school and the middle school, they have office hours, but teachers are responding to emails like throughout the school day and into the next day. So,
Okay.
but we can definitely look at those suggestions and do make sure that we follow up. Thank you very much.
And personally, I think it's awesome that they care enough that they want to be sure that they're continuing their education as much as they can. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? If not, I believe that that is the end of our business for this evening. We will have an executive session after this meeting. We will not be returning. Anyone have anything else to add before I call for the adjournment? Motion to adjourn, please.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone. Board members. Oh, go ahead, Mr.
We
McDonald.
go back to the previous executive link.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I
Yes, you
said. We
will.
log out of this and we'll go back to the one we were on before the meeting tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.